I'm going to talk to you tonight about your evolution. It's probably not the way you see it, but I'm really into the shortcut, you know? All this bullshit of going up a fucking mountain in the Hindu Kush, forget it, it takes too long. I like to helicopter in, talk to the guy and leave, you know? No pissing about. Because we live in a fast-moving world. And I'm not mad keen on things that are complicated because, I don't know, I've always liked spirituality to be very simple and easy. And all spirituality in the end is to do with freedom. Because you don't get freedom for nothing. And you don't get meaning for nothing. Our societies are not designed to set you free. It's the same in every bloody nation. At the hotel today having lunch, watching people walk back and forth. I was watching them and thinking, wow, how sad. Because they have sort of like conformist walks, you know, they have a special conforming way of walking. And to really conform, you have to press the muscles of your ass like this, you know? Because you have to hold this sort of invisible etheric carrot up your ass. So I was having this very expensive lunch, and you watch them doing conforming when they're walking. There's an actual conformist walk, and it's a bit like that. Through quietness, through meditation, through serenity, through touching nature, through realizing that you're a complete arsehole. You know, it took me years to figure that one out. Years and years and years. I actually thought I knew things, you know? I mean, it must have taken me 3 to 5 years to work out I am completely arseholic. I should, you know, join Arseholes Anonymous here, man, you know? And go to meetings every Tuesday. Because I'm a complete fucking idiot. You know, in sort of Rami, Swami, the Barmi. And, you know, you don't notice that he's some dusty little fucking Indian up the Hindu Kush who's going, everything is love. Well, I mean... It's like, yeah, man, but I mean, what else, you know? Give me the power, give me the knowledge. Oh, no, you don't need any of that. Everything is love. Sit here for another 50,000 years. So give me a break, man. But you see, at the beginning, you can't work that stuff out. No. You can't work it out because you haven't got the power to say, listen, this is fucking bullshit. You know, so this is a living God. And you think, ooh, wow, sit here. You know, and the incense is there and they're bonging on the drums. And people are giving it all that good sort of meditation stuff, and they're oming their oms. And it's very hard, isn't it? It's almost impossible to look at him and think, who the fuck is this guy? You know? They say, oh no, this is a living God. You say, he looks like a bicycle repairman from Karachi to me. They say, oh no, excuse me, that's very sacrilegious. You say, no, I've met bicycle repairmen from Karachi, they look exactly like this man. But your brain can't sort of... It can't hack the contradiction, you know? I mean, your brain knows he's a bicycle repairman from Karachi, but it can't accept it. Because it sort of tells you lies, you know? You buy the idea of the fact this is a living God. Well, if he's a living God, what's he actually saying, you know? Or maybe it's a she, you know? What did she say? Well, actually, she didn't say anything. She sat on a pillow for 45 minutes and said, fuck all. You think, fuck, man, I've got relatives like that. They come round and drink my booze and don't say anything. They're boring me shitless, man. So at the beginning, you can't tell the difference. And that's at the end of the 1,000-day climb. So you're up there with Swami Rami. Who invented this stage? You've got to keep walking, man. You're up here with Swami Rami, and you genuinely believe that the green slime thing's going to work for you. And you're convinced that everybody on the whole planet should have it, right? But you haven't really reached the infinite self. You haven't really reached your power. You're still in this intellectual concept, you know? And have you noticed, like, all those books are very thick, aren't they? You know? There's secret teachings of Sri Bongo, Dongo, Longo, Spongo. And it's like 40, 100,000 pages long. And you think, what the fuck's this about? You know? Why is it taking so long? Feeling. And that feeling is in the etheric. And that's your power. Once you realize that's your power, that's your infinity. And then what can you do with this etheric? You can move it. You can make people see things that aren't there. You can stop them. You can hold them. You can scare them. You can give them joy. You can make There's a system where you wipe their mind quick, and they go into blank for a second or two. You can stop them talking, you can make them talk. You can empower them to become powerful, or you can debilitate them to become weak. That's the power. And every one of you here has this ability. And you do not have to be a Swami Rami Barmy on the mountain for 2,500 years. You can do it quick, instant. Ding, ding, let's go. You just got to believe you can do it. That's your power. So I started teaching people, hey, you got the power, brother. Come with me, sister, I'll show you, you got the power. You got the power. And so I'd carry people up that journey. It's hard, it's really hard part of it, because the ego dies and you're lost. When it dies, your world kind of dies. But beyond here, there's a doorway. And here at the front of the door, in this area here, it's what's known in English as a singularity. Once you're on the other side, you suddenly realize, wow, we live in a trans-dimensional universe. And it's not hypothetically trans-dimensional, it's right here. It's right in this room. And these other places and these other worlds are right here. And these other dimensions are right here. So then I started to travel on. Ding, ding, let's go. Ding, ding, let's go. But as I traveled on, I had to face my fears all the time, because the further you go on the journey towards the infinite self, the more frightened you get. There's no cushy ride, you know? There's no cushy ride. So sometimes I'd be out there and I'd see something so scary, you know, like really, really scary, like this really scary being, let's say, you know? And so I'd run away for a bit. Coward. Well, not a coward, but just a human that was scared, you know? If you look at your fears and you don't turn and run and you go, ding, ding, let's go, your fears melt, you know? If somebody's being tyrannical and they are manipulating your life and they're tormenting you and terrorizing you, or they are, you know, manipulating you emotionally or financially, the more you let them do it, the worse it gets, doesn't it? The minute you look at them and say, fuck you, you take the power away. So that was my game. And then I went through that doorway and I just kept going on and on and on and on and on. On and on, thinking, wow, how much fear can I go beyond? So then I kept inventing new experiences for myself that would be even more scary than the last one. And in the end, I've got a feeling your spiritual journey is actually very much a measure of how much fear you can go beyond. Ding, ding, let's go. You know, let's get right in the center of the universe. You know, where all physical form melts and you're left with just the mathematics or the fractal nature of the universe. And let's go through that. Bam, let's go. Let's go through this doorway together and discover what's really out there. And so I kept moving, kept moving, kept moving, kept moving, kept moving, kept moving. And I'm really proud of myself because I'm an expert on terrorizing myself stupid. Real expert. Real expert, you know? And I think, wow, what a life. At least we tried, you know? So now I teach people. I teach kids mostly. Only because older people are harder to teach because they've got a lot of questions, you know? And they're serious. And seriousness, I can't deal with seriousness because I'm not a serious person. You know? But when a person's very serious and they've got the carrot up the arse kind of thing, I can't hack it. I don't know what to say to them, you know? I love them, but I can't handle it, you know? So I like kids because they're not serious, you know? So I like working with them. When I say kids, I mean anybody from about 15 to 35 to me is a kid because I'm, you know, 55 myself, 53. But older people, most of them are too serious to be, you know, you can't do anything for it. And seriousness is such a disease, isn't it? You know? I mean, it's a terrible disease, seriousness. And there's nothing, you don't know what to do for people that are serious, you know? And when you think about all the serious people you know, it's scary, isn't it? Well, I find it scary. Maybe you guys are very serious, so you like it, but... So in the end, you have to be brave. That. Finger up. Fuck off. They said, are you telling me to fuck off? Yes, I have, yes. Fuck off. I'm an infinite spirit inside a body. You can't be telling me this shit. And get your snotty little fucking dog out of my luggage. Fuck off. You don't have to do it a lot of times, but you got to do it a few times to know you can do it. You know? What are you doing? Fuck off. It's got nothing to do with you. What's your name? Piss off. They said they could not have christened you Piss Off. They did. I'm a Polish refugee. My name's Piss Off. Fuck off. You see, and once you realize you can push, it's very scary to push, isn't it? You know? It's very scary to push against the manipulation that people put on you. Because in many ways, some people like being victims, you know? But you know when you have those people that like being victims, you kind of sort of want to whack them in the head to keep them happy, don't you? Their victim energy says, please belt me in the head, won't you? Boom, do this. So you like victimizing them. The minute you're not a victim and you step back and you go, fuck off, they all run away. If they don't run away, you pick up a big piece of wood and you give them a clip in the head. Bang! Fuck off now.
Ouch. A lot of what the book talks about is being able to sort of be, unemotional and detached and to understand, to read the subtle energies, to understand what people actually mean rather than what they say. And so it's the act of looking at the spaces between the leaves rather than looking at the tree. It's very much that it's the getting of wisdom. It's understanding that all your power is inner and you have fantastic strength, but where you lose it is when you get stressed out and off balance and when you're being pulled around by other people. And so in the book I talk about the silent consolidation of your power through meditation and disciplines and the wisdom of non-action, which is a very Taoist theory, but it's the idea of not reacting and not acting necessarily. So sometimes doing nothing is way better than acting and throwing yourself into a huddle. Excuse me.
Sure.
And so it's very much like going in the opposite direction. When all the crowd are screaming and rushing up one end, you walk silently out towards what's essentially going to be the safe end. And I think as the world gets more and more tenuous and the economy gets worse and worse, the whole idea of silent power is one that says, hey, you can provide for yourself, you don't need a lot, you can understand things intuitively by developing subtle feelings, a subtle perception about things. You can literally see round corners because you've developed those subtle feelings, and you're linked into, your what I call your nature self. And your nature self is that part of you that is natural and calm and walking in the trees and is linked to Gaia and understands the seasons and the rain and the snow and the sun and the warmth. And so it's the development of an extrasensory etheric perception. The etheric is the life field around us, and it isn't that hard to begin to understand it because you kind of know it when you look at it, but perhaps you haven't got the words to understand it, or nobody's actually laid it out for you, and that's part of the book, is developing a heightened sense of awareness. So you're like this very calm, very wise old medicine woman or sage, and you're just walking very calmly through the village while a riot's happening all around you. But you're like at one and at peace with nature and the eternal Tao, and you don't have a lot of needs, you don't have a lot of emotional stuff. You're composed and settled and balanced. Simple pictures or quirky pictures, it entertains them, and they understand these concepts because the concepts of going the other way is very, very different because everybody's plunging towards one direction, and then to teach people, hey, hold back, pull back, don't get involved, allow the people to go in whatever direction they want to go, don't get angry, stay calm. And, it's that sort of, you buy the solution, not the emotion. So you look at what's the problem? Now, what's the solution? But if you get uptight, the solution evades you. And so my whole philosophy has been that. It's been one of sort of empowering what I call the fringe dwellers. And the fringe dwellers are people, they're not revolutionaries or anything like that, but they're just people who think differently. Let's say the people that would support your radio station, They think differently, and they have a different idea about life and the world. They have maybe a different relationship to God, maybe a more intimate relationship to God, because they can sense the beauty of the God force in nature through their meditations and through their silent and quiet time and so on. And so they're less sort of like, ritualistic, less dogmatic and so on. So the fridge dwellers are sort of people who no, they don't fit, but they still might be working at the on the railways or something. They may have a regular sort of what I call a tick-tock job, but deep in their soul, they know they're part of a higher evolution. And so silent power is very much for those people. And they're not one or two weirdos. There's like tens of hundreds of millions of them. That, they may even be part of a religion, but part of them knows that they don't really belong to that religion. They just go through the motions, attending on their holy days. And so I wrote it for them so that they would have this extra boost, and so that they would understand themselves in the context of another evolution. And that's, like, for example, in the book I talk about silent talking, and this is the ability to communicate with other people without using your voice, but just your thoughts, and to pick up on what they're thinking and their feelings, and to sort of be more intimately connected to your children and your loved ones and your family and so on. So it's really the sort of the path of the warrior sage, this person that isn't normal because they've questioned TikTok, they've questioned dogma, they've gone to another place in their mind. And there are millions of people out there, and it's somewhat lonely for them because often there's nothing for them to link into or to read or to be a part of, because all that's really offered in the mainstream is a sort of like day-to-day sort of bland, propaganda, and it's all rubbish, really.
Agreed, Stuart.
Well, I mean, for example, I tell people, listen, when you're out in the street, in the main street, and you're shopping and so forth, I tell them, listen, blow love into the hearts of people, even if they're absolutely ghastly and perhaps even scary looking, or they look demented, or they look sick. Blow love, blow kindness, blow tenderness towards people, and communicate with what is this essence, their higher self, not their lower self, their physical body, their ego, just that divinity that's inside of them. And by linking into the divinity in nature, and linking into the divinity, the eternity within yourself, which comes through these moments of silence, and linking into the eternity of the people in the street, you arrive at a higher evolution, and they feel that warmth and the support that you're sending them. It's because, let's face it, most people have no love in their life. They're not loved by anybody, and they don't know how to love, and they're not loved in return. And so their life is sort of usually rather competitive and brutal and hard and difficult. And so silent power takes you to this other place. It's almost like entering into another dimension while you're still standing there. But you're in a zone, and the zone is the zone of the subtle feelings. To be able to pick up on people's thoughts and feelings and knowing what to do to support them, because everybody needs to be supported. They all want love, they all want support, they all want to be made right, they all want attention. And so offer it to them. It makes life simple. Yeah, but I've always prided myself in not using very many words. So some writers are very verbose and technical, and they kind of waffle on endlessly. And so I've always I've always written very sort of, not abruptly, but with very short sentences and very few use of words. And so by using simple words and not using many of them, I've tried to find a sort of spiritual growth on the hurry up, really. You can read one of my books, on the train to work, and you can get a lot out of it because it doesn't waffle on. I get straight to the point. And also I try to put humor in all of my books because in the end, life through this earth plane, I mean, it's an immense experience. And I think if you want to keep it light and breezy, you have to laugh at yourself and laugh at the world, do nothing, and then feel out where your strongest path lies. And that's really what it's all about. It's this idea of people exuding an effortless strength through their discipline, through their silent power. And in this way, you control the destructive side of the ego. You control that part of you that will have you tear around all over everywhere. And you get in touch with oh, wait a minute, and you intuitively know, wow, if I go over here, this is going to really work. And then you drive over there to a client you've never sold before, and they order 6 or whatever you got. So it's very much a matter of realizing that there's times for acting and there's times for sitting still, and as much can be achieved. I don't mean sitting still and eating, potato chips, French fries in front of the TV. I mean quiet time in nature where you're really in touch with your inner self, and like as you do that, that whole electrical magnetic body around you, the etheric field as I call it, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so it's really where your power resides. It resides in this faint energy that's like a colorless mist, but it's there and it's waiting. But it can move very fast and it can haul you off to places. So striving, it'll be to say, it's the wisdom of not striving. It's the wisdom of not pushing. It's the wisdom of walking slow. It's the wisdom of being balanced and in discipline and at one and at peace with all things. And then it comes to you. The anthrax, it turned out it came from a military laboratory. And so it was the government posting out the anthrax themselves in order to create a fright. So it is possible to manipulate the population with these fear tactics and so on. But again, inside that silent power, you've got to understand that you're going to be fine. But yeah, it's not good karma the way the government propagates these wars, and the idea of going overseas and bombing innocent villages at night and stuff like that and killing people. And I mean, it's terrible stuff, but as individuals, there's very little we can do about it. In fact, there's nothing we can do about it. Okay, we could stand outside the White House with a banner, but even that's going to be banned soon, the protests and so forth.
Right.
So you have to understand that, sadly, it's people's karma. And it's so vast, the whole question of karma, that we can't understand why people suffer the way they suffer.
And
Well, your psychic protection breaks down through your own darkness. So the first sort of act of improving your protection is to process your own darkness. So you have to look at your spite and your disdain and your, well, these are all difficult things to talk about, but like, self-importance, dishonesty, the predatory instincts. Because, like, obviously, if a person is a predator, then they open themselves up to other predators. Because it's like an etheric food chain. So by working on your darkness, that is the greatest protection that you can create. And then you have to spend quiet time and breathe in the light and realize that this celestial power is with you. You've got the power.
Be free. Be free. We don't need this shit. Be free. Be free. Be free. We don't need this shit. Be free.